and its ease in connecting with that power of peace and potential that resides within every human being. Power of Kundalini. For 50 years, Shri Mataji made collective transformation possible by awakening the inner energy and giving us the means to master ourselves. Today, the world calls for it with ever-gaining momentum. Thousands of free classes are offered in almost every city in the world and are now available online at the tip of your fingers.
Hello, my name is Vikashni. I am 6 years old. I've been meditating since birth. I have been meditating since I was in mommy's tummy.
Hi, my name is Durga and I've been practicing Sahaja Yoga meditation since I was 2.
Waking up every morning feeling unmotivated. Every working day is a Monday blue. We snooze our alarm until last minute, rushing every little things we do. We read newspaper in the morning, but what we get is only the sad news. Shock, anger, and dismay are what we receive early in the morning. We did not finish our breakfast as we have lost our appetite. Wife is sad, and how are we going to maintain our relationship like this? Rushing to work, forgetting the small little things, not greeting our family, and we went off. He's rushing, so it doesn't matter, said his wife. But deep down, how she wishes her husband to greet her at least good morning or good night. Arriving at work, we have a presentation today. With a tired mind and a restless soul, we screw up our presentation. Our supervisor is disappointed, and so are we. We are fed up with ourselves. We keep condemning ourselves. Why can't I be more motivated? How can I handle my stress? Who can help me?
Sahaja Yoga meditation allows you to be connected to the light of the spirit and discover the bliss of thoughtless awareness. This is an image of our subtle system. The orange color energy on the right side is known as the right side energy, and the blue color energy on the left side is known as the left side energy. And in the center, there is a triangular bone called the sacrum bone, which houses our mother energy, also known as the Kundalini. This energy rises from the base of our spine, all the way through the 7 energy centers to the top of our head. This process happens when we get our self-realization. As you can see, slowly but surely, our energy rises to the top of our head, and this is when we achieve a state of thoughtless awareness. With Sahaja Yoga meditation, one becomes innocent, creative, disciplined, secure and confident, collective and diplomatic, loving and compassionate, and mostly, you will become enlightened. These are all the qualities of chakras when they are cleansed through the awakening that we achieve through Sahaja Yoga. Oftentimes, these chakras are blocked due to the negative environment one was or is in, and that person doesn't have the power of spirit to overcome these negative energies that they are subjected to. They are vulnerable to other people's domination, ego, social identification, and so on. That's why we still have these racial problems nowadays, because we do not know that we are not the body, we are not the mind, but we are just the pure spirit.
Sahaja Yoga Malaysia welcomes you to seek the light of your spirit with our ongoing meditation sessions, seminars, and music detox sessions. Most importantly, they are all free for the lifetime. Also, in conjunction with the International Yoga Day, Sahaja Yoga Malaysia has also prepared a variety of events to share with you, our peace and joy. So feel free to drop us a message or visit us on Facebook at Meditate Malaysia to join one of our sessions today. Hope to see you soon.
core of our desires
is living a life of purpose and meaning.
At the core of a life of purpose and meaning
Is being of service to others.
At the core of being of service to others
Is finding peace and happiness.
At the core of finding peace and happiness
We discover who we are. For that, join Sahaja Yoga Malaysia meditation this coming weekend to know yourself.
All right, mic test 1 2 1 2. Can everyone hear me? All right, if you guys can hear me, just type something in the chat box. We will be starting very, very shortly for today's session, 4 to 5 p.m. We will be talking about why meditate, why you should meditate. And today, I won't be alone in this live stream. My name is Raj. I will be joined by my very good friend, Rohan as well. Rohan, do you want to jump in and say hello real quick?
Hey guys, hi everyone. Thanks for tuning in. It's going to be a really nice session, and Raj is obviously going to be talking a little bit more about the agenda for today, what we're going to be talking about. So take it away, Raj.
Awesome. So first of all, thank you to everyone who is joining us live from Facebook. Some of y'all are from Zoom. I believe some of y'all are from YouTube as well. Thank you so much for being here today. Like we said before, my name is Raj and my friend Rohan is here today to talk about a few things in this next 1 hour live stream. Now, the topic for today's live stream is why meditate. What exactly will we be covering in this next 1 hour? First of all, we will be talking about the basics of meditation. It's going to be a very simple, straightforward tutorial on how you can start meditating and how you can incorporate meditation into your daily routine. The second thing that we are going to be sharing is the scientific and also spiritual knowledge behind meditation. Some people regard meditation as a meta science. Meta science meaning there's a huge part of it that can be proven by science, but the other half of it is still something that people are still trying to understand. So we will talk about those two spectrums today. And lastly, the benefits of meditation, how you can use meditation as a tool to help you live a healthier, happier, and more balanced life. So for the next 1 hour, Rohan and I are going to be going through all these topics that we mentioned about, and we hope by the end of this 1 hour session, you will be able to incorporate meditation into your daily routine. You will be able to start practicing this simple routine. It is like exercise for your soul, and it will lead you to a much happier, healthier, and balanced life. So to kick things off today, once again, for those of you all joining us, thank you so much for joining our live stream. To start our session for today, Rohan and I are going to be sharing our journey when we started meditation and how it has affected our lives. So Rohan, maybe you want to start by sharing your meditation journey. When did you start?
Thanks for that lovely introduction. So I was very, very fortunate. My mom was meditating before I was born, and so I basically grew up with meditation as a regular practice in the household. Obviously, even though I've done it for a very huge portion of my life, it was never truly mine. Obviously, as a kid, you always just sort of listen to your mom and follow along and, just say, yes, ma, I'll do everything you say. But it's only much later in life when I kind of actually stopped meditating, and I kind of, as a teenager, you get a bit rebellious, you start to do all the things you want to do. You don't want to take orders from people. So I kind of left meditation, and that's sort of when I really felt the impact. I was, oh, what? This thing that I, sort of took for granted my whole life suddenly had meaning and had a profound impact on my life. And eventually I found my way back, right, through obviously trying to meditate again and realizing, wow, this is real. This has an effect, right? It's not something that isn't real, which obviously when you're a teenager, when you're angsty, when you're young, and you're sort of sorting through who you are, you typically, you just want to defy everything, right? You want to prove that, you've made the decisions you've made to be where you are. And especially I think for young adults, which this session is really catered for, it's really cool that you can hear meditation, because a lot of times, and I think in a lot of places where they can talk about meditation, it's usually geared more towards older people, because and meditation is also sometimes looked at as something that's only for like older people, but it's actually a very sensible thing for young people to do well and to start doing it from young, because it has so many benefits and they amplify. Obviously, the longer you do something, the better you get. So my experience with meditation has just been tremendous in how it's affected my life, my relationships, work, all of that. And we're going to really dial in and focus on some of the work stuff today, how meditation can help you in your work and studies, obviously. So yeah, but that's really been my experience with it, sort of in and out, and then realizing the value of it because of that. Yeah. How about you, Raj?
Awesome. So my journey with meditation started much later in my life. I only started meditating at about the age of 20, 21. And I started meditating because I was going through a lot of anxiety and depression. I was diagnosed with something called anxiety disorder. And for those of y'all who are not familiar with what anxiety disorder actually is, it's basically extreme worrying to a point where physical symptoms manifest. For example, the inability to eat, the inability to think properly, you just lose mood to do anything and everything. And it's stress and anxiety up to a level where you cannot function properly. So naturally, the first thing I did was I went to see a doctor. I went to see a certified professional. And whatever I'm sharing with you guys today, please don't take it as medical advice, all right? At the end of the day, please go and see a doctor if you have to. But I'm just sharing with you my journey and how I sort of navigated that situation in my life. So I went to see a doctor, and the doctor prescribed medications for me. And that was something that I wasn't comfortable exploring at that point of time for two reasons. Number one, I know that medication was going to have very unreliable effects. It might help me or it might make my condition worse. And number two, I understood that for a fact, in order to solve any mental health related issues, sometimes you have to delve deeper within yourself. You have to fix the problem at its root instead of trying to solve the surface level problems. So with this understanding, coincidentally, the universe sort of guided me towards a group of friends. And those group of friends actually introduced me to you, Rohan, and your family, who taught me how to meditate at the age of 2021. And surprisingly, practicing meditation for 6 months, I would say 70 to 80% of my anxiety went away. And even when it did come back, because stress and anxiety is part of our journey as human beings, right? People always say, let's fight anxiety. I want to destroy stress, destroy anxiety. The truth is, it is part and parcel of the human experience, but we have to develop the resilience, the strength, and the capability to realize when it manifests itself and how we can sort of ask it to just stand aside, push it to the side and live on life as normal. So meditation gave me that peace of mind, that clarity, and the strength, the capability to be self-aware that when stress or negative thoughts hit me, I can pull myself away and tell myself, hey, look, it's just a thought, it's just an emotion, it is not true, and I'm able to overcome this. So that was why I started meditating, and I took to it really, really rapidly, because I know for a fact that it has impacted my life, and I know the benefits and really the power of meditation can really help a lot of people out there. So that is why I think we are having this session today as well, right, Rohan? And as Rohan mentioned, this session is catered more towards young adults, fresh graduates. Of course, if anybody else who is not in that demographic is in this live stream, we're not going to alienate y'all, don't worry. Thank you so much for joining us. If you guys have any questions at any time, please type it in the chat and we'll reply as soon as we can. All right. So yeah, that's our story with meditation, very, very briefly. So Rohan, let's talk about the idea of meditation, right? Before I started meditating, and I've heard the same story from all my friends, when we tell them meditating or meditation, they'll imagine this guru exiling himself from the normal human world, going up, living in a mountain and just meditating there for 10, 20, 30 years. Is that what meditation is?
You know what? You're so right. I think the idea of this mountain, there's always this mountain somewhere, right? You have to be like alone on a mountain with no connections. And that's the way I think meditation has been prescribed to a lot of the world, right? I mean, in terms of like achieving something, in terms of getting to some kind of really crazy, deep state or something like that, right? But obviously that can't be any semblance of truth in that, because not everyone can go and live in a mountain. And so what does that mean? Only people who can go to a mountain can achieve this, this thing that is supposed to be very natural, very spontaneous within all of us. So I mean, it's one of those funny things. And I think for me, thankfully, because again, I grew up with it and have had people who had the right mindset about it, I never ever thought of meditation that way. But I always have friends that do. I knew growing up in school, when I would tell people that I used to meditate, people always ask me like, huh? Like, how do you do that? How do you just sit and like not do anything, not think? Like, what is that? It's so weird. Like, especially for young people, it's like super weird, right? Like they can't even wrap their head around it, especially like a couple of years ago. I think now meditation is becoming maybe a little bit more trendy. Young people are starting to get it, and incorporate it into some parts of their lives. So I hope for anyone out there who's watching, like, please, like, remove this connotation, this fear about like meditation being something that's extreme. It's not. In fact, it's the opposite of extreme. It's something very practical, very simple, and all it takes is a couple of minutes every day at home, and that's really all it's about. Not anything crazy like being in a mountain.
Right. So to paint a picture, right? Tell us, how do you incorporate meditation into your daily routine? Walk us through it. How do you do it?
Cool. So for me, meditation is something that it brings you into a state, or I should say, it is a state. Actually, if we talk about the kind of four mental states that we as human beings have, there are a couple, right? For the first one, you can be not aware and not thinking, and this is kind of asleep, right? Being asleep is basically being not aware and not thinking. You can also be aware and thinking, and this is kind of like what we are doing now, right? Right now we're talking, we're thinking, we're aware, we know what's happening. And then there are kind of two other states in between, right? One of them is thinking but not being aware, and that's typically like dreaming or hallucinating, right? Your mind, something is going on in your mind, but you're not actually aware of what's going on in your mind. You can't really control it. So that's the other state. And the final one, which is meditation, which is basically being thoughtless, so not thinking but being aware. And it's a really, really powerful state that essentially gets triggered when you let go. So a lot of people think meditation is about focus, right? But it's actually not about focus. It's actually about letting go and stopping thoughts, which again, we'll talk about a little bit more scientifically what thoughts exactly are, the waves in your brain and how that works. And so for me, incorporating it into a daily routine is basically sitting down and starting by just letting go of all the stuff that, has bothered me in a day, or that's troubling me, or any kind of thoughts that are in my mind. And it's a good sit down for 5, 10, 15 minutes, obviously, depending on the day and how I feel. And I do that twice a day, typically in the morning and the evening, and that's it. And I just keep that routine as often and as frequently as I can. Obviously, there are days when I'm tired or I can't do it, and that's okay. It's very normal to not feel like doing it all the time. But obviously, practicing it every day has a huge beneficial effect of being regular, like with anything.
Right. So it's kind of interesting, right? Just 5, 10, 15 minutes a day. You do it twice a day. It's just essentially the act of sitting down and doing nothing, right? It's just that. And just doing that twice a day can bring so much of benefits to your mind, body, and soul. It's just so amazing. So before we jump into the whole scientific perspective of meditation, because like I said at the start, when it comes to meditation, people regard it as a meta science. Some benefits of meditation can be proved by science, but the other part is something which is still under research. People are trying to understand it. Before we jump into that part, what would you say are some of the benefits of meditation that you have experienced for yourself, how it relates to work and your life?
Right. So again, this session, because it's geared towards like creative people, I'm going to talk a bit more about that. But by the way, and if you haven't been tuning in for some of the previous sessions, meditation has helped me so much with my health. I'm an asthmatic. I was born asthmatic. It's helped me so much with breathing better, right? It's helped me a ton with dealing with stress, obviously, at work. So calming me down, giving me that right frame of mind. So that's a really, really huge benefit, because that translates into everything in your life, whether it's relationships or friends or family or anything. I think probably for me, the biggest benefit that meditation has given me in terms of work, again, focusing on sort of work, is helping me to be creative. So one of the things that I'm a designer at work, product designer. And so my job is to always come up with sort of new ways to solve problems, right? And build new things and with new creative ideas. And meditation is one of those things that, I don't know how people be creative without it. It's one of those things that, because being creative, and we're going to talk about this obviously a little bit more, is you have to be in this state of play. You have to be like a child. You have to have fun. No one can create stuff when they're stressed. It's very you can't force creativity. It's something that I think we all can remember from being a child, when we just used to draw whatever we wanted to draw. You didn't think about it, you didn't worry about it, you just did what you did, and it was beautiful and it was fun, and you were expressing yourself. And I think if anything, meditation is the key to self-expression, actually, because you get so in touch with yourself that you don't feel inhibited, you don't feel constricted by anything anymore in your life, at least not very much. And so then you can really express yourself and create and be very productive, I think, in the workplace, at least for me.
Definitely. I think for myself also, the benefits which I have experienced personally is definitely in terms of my mental health. It has given me so much more clarity. It has helped me develop self-awareness to differentiate between what is truth and what is our mind trying to trick us. Right. So I guess that self-awareness was really one of the biggest benefits that meditation gave me. Of course, research papers and studies have shown that meditation has helped with a lot of things, blood pressure, health problems, it's numerous. It's a never-ending list on how meditation can help you live a healthier life. So speaking about studies and research papers, right, let's jump into the scientific perspective of things. So like when I first started meditation, I was very resistant towards it, because when people told me that just by sitting down for 15 minutes twice a day, I would be able to sort of get a better grip on and heal a lot of my problems, I was like, okay, wait a minute, this does not make any sense at all, right? How can I just sit down and my problems magically solve themselves? So naturally, I had to go and find research papers and studies and try to understand the science behind it. And I'm going to share with you guys some of the things that I've learned from a scientific perspective. But I also want y'all to keep an open mind towards meditation, because like I said again, it's meta science. Some things can be proven, but some things we still don't understand, but we know they work, right? And I think maybe Rohan, you want to explain a bit about how energy and meditation are correlated. But let me kick this off by sharing with you guys a bit of the scientific evidence behind it. So in our body, we have a nervous system. All right. A nervous system is what helps us think, move, act, react. It helps us live our lives as human beings. And within this nervous system, there are two channels. Okay. For example, we got TV1 and TV2. Same inside our body, we got two nervous systems. One nervous system is called the sympathetic nervous system, and the other nervous system is called the parasympathetic nervous system. So if you guys can visualize, this is our body. In the middle is the parasympathetic nervous system, and on the sides are the sympathetic nervous system. So what happens when we become stressed out? Okay, that's the question. What happens when we become stressed out? So stress nowadays, guys, you all have to understand it. It can come from many things. It can come from work. It can come from our emotions. We have a deadline to rush. We want to finish this assignment. We want to get a really, really good grade for the assignment. Our lecturer is scolding us, relationship problems. All these things can cause stress nowadays. It is inherent within us. It is genetics, right? Human beings are designed to have this fight or flight system, because in ancient times, long time ago, when dinosaurs and woolly mammoths and all those were alive, we needed this fight or flight system to survive. We are running away from the predators. We need to make fire or find food. And this hasn't disappeared, even though we are how many thousand years in the future. This fight or flight system is still within us, except it manifests in different ways, right? And when the stress manifests, then our sympathetic nervous system will be on. So it's nothing wrong to have our sympathetic nervous system on. But the problem is when it is on for too long. When we are constantly stressed, if we do not have a good cope on our stress levels, the longer the system is on, the more it damages our body. Okay, our cells don't regenerate as fast, we don't think as clearly, our health deteriorates, all those things happen. Now, in contrast to the sympathetic nervous system, our center channel in the middle is something called the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, this nervous system is where the relaxation, the recovery, the healing happens. So naturally, this is the state that we want to be in. We want our parasympathetic nervous system to be activated so that our body can heal and we can be calm, relaxed, and we can enjoy life properly. So this is a challenge, right? How do we activate our parasympathetic nervous system more and, try to reduce the effects or the damage of overactivation of the sympathetic nervous system? And meditation is one of the ways to do it. All this has been scientifically proven. You guys can do a very simple Google search, can just type Sahaja Yoga meditation research papers. You'll find so much of studies on how meditation has helped people become just more balanced and more calm, and also to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. So that is from the scientific perspective, right? Rohan, would you like to share how do you think meditation actually helps people? Like what's the process behind it?
Absolutely. So I think, again, in the context of this live stream and building on creativity and sort of self-improvement, I think for young people, it's sort of that time in their life. I say young people like as if I'm not there, but but all of us, I think, in general, we want to improve. We always want to be improving and getting better and better and better. We're discovering ourselves and learning what we're good at, and it's about building that esteem, that self-confidence. So there's a lot of things that go into that. And just like you talked about being kind of two channels, right? In the same way, sort of self-improvement is kind of split. And this time I feel into three different channels, actually, right? So the left being a channel of left energy, which is more of self-correction, looking at the past, dealing with your mistakes, understanding your mistakes and correcting yourself. Then there is self-improvement itself, which is very right-sided, like you said, thinking about the future. How can I be better? How can I change? How can I do this, right? And then there's the middle, and the middle is sort of what I call self-awareness, is what you said is being one of the main benefits of meditation. This kind of metacognitive state where you gain control over your attention. You understand your thinking. You know how you think, why the thoughts you have come to you, and it's a really beautiful state. And it's something that, especially if you have at a young age, you can do. You're just an incredibly powerful person because you can govern yourself. You can self-regulate, so to speak, right? And that's actually what meditation is. It's kind of a very deep level of self-regulation over yourself. Now, these things, again, scientifically, so I'm going to build some benefits here and link it ultimately to how scientifically it's all kind of connected. So, we've got the ego, we've got the super ego. Again, these are very common terms thrown around. I won't go into huge details about them. But basically, the ego is governed with, again, like what you said, pushing out the future, your ideas. I'm right. I know this. This is good for me. The super ego is sort of like, oh, no, not so good. I should stop. I should hold on. It's conditionings. My mom told me this. My dad told me this. I can't do that, right? So conditionings sort of weigh us down. Ego pushes us forward, right? And somewhere in the middle is balance and peace. And that's the state that meditation, again, tries to bring us to. And it's really hard to be creative if you're not in balance. It's really hard to be productive and efficient if you're not in balance. It's just actually, honestly, impossible. So how does meditation work? How does meditation actually help this thing happen? Obviously, a lot of you are wondering, like from a scientific perspective, perhaps, because young people are very into science. You want to understand what is it, how does it work, right? So first of all, I like to say that understanding it is not necessarily the best way to approach meditation in the beginning, because it is complex, right? It is not necessarily the most simple thing to understand in a very detailed level, but at a basic level it is. It's kind of like sleeping or eating. Meditation is just like a natural process. It's a natural process. You don't need to understand how sleep works, right? How REM cycles work. You don't need to understand how your digestive system works to enjoy good food, right? Or to have a good sleep. You don't need to understand it to enjoy it. And that's really important thing. I think meditation is one of those things where you don't necessarily need to understand it to enjoy it. But of course, with understanding comes a level of awareness and, again, sort of self-comprehension about yourself that is very satisfying. And of course, eventually, and we'll go through this at the end as well with Sahaj classes, which are also free always, and how they can help you build that knowledge. So before we talk a little bit more about meditation, I'm just going to talk a little bit about just give you the context of what is the science part of meditation, as Raj said, right? The half science, half not science, maybe, so that you guys can kind of put some of your doubts maybe to rest, right? Just put it from a very logical, simple perspective. You don't need to have a degree to understand what I'm going to say next, right? You just need a basic understanding of some very, very simple things that we all know. So again, very, very simply, the body is made up of energy, right? I think we can all completely understand that the body is made up of energy. And if you know anything about string theory from Albert Einstein, again, I'm not talking about string theory here, but basically energy is comprised of, it can be represented in many forms in terms of wave. And for example, Albert Einstein talked about it as vibrations on a string. That's why we call it string theory, right? And all these different strings vibrating make up the entire universe, so us included, obviously. Heat and light energy are examples of the kinds of energies we can detect, right? We have special instruments like thermometers to detect heat energy. We have special instruments like light sensors to detect light energy, for example. And we can also obviously detect them with our own sensory organs, right? Like our skin and our eyes and whatnot. And all these energies are deciphered in the brain. So the brain is kind of like the ultimate tool, right? The ultimate thing that allows us to understand all these energies. So the body is made up of energy. We can feel some energies and detect some energies. And obviously there are various types of energies. There are some that we can't even see. For example, there are tons of energies in the electromagnetic spectrum that we can't see with our eye, but that doesn't mean they don't exist, right? And so from a very scientific perspective, you can make the argument that, hey, there are definitely some energies inside me that I don't know about. And perhaps the tool, my brain, is not tuned to understand those energies. And so that's why I can't feel it. So one of the very important things to understand about meditation is that you will feel some kind of connection with an energy that is deeper within yourself. And it may take some time. It's not like you feel it immediately necessarily, right? It might take some time. But the point is that's the tuning, that's the retuning of your instrument, of your brain to sort of get in touch with those energies. And that's kind of what we're going to start with, how we're going to kickstart the process today. So I'm just going to very quickly gloss over this fact that there is an energy within us. It is restorative, it is healing, it replenishes us, right? If you've looked up some research into like delta waves and the stuff that happens when you sleep, you'll understand that there's a bunch of energies that are responsible for restoring our brain and making sure that we are, healthy and happy. And obviously that translates into every other aspect of our life. So that being said, I think it'd be great now if we can experience it kind of together, and we're going to walk you through a process, this initial process that needs to happen to kind of start that retuning of your instrument so that you can start to feel this deeper energy that is within you. All right. So I think we'll start with that.
So once again, for those of y'all who are just joining us on Facebook, YouTube, and from Zoom, thank you so much for joining us. Our topic for today is why meditate, and we have just shared, Rohan and I have just shared the benefits of meditation and very briefly the basics of meditation and how it works. So now we are going to start into the part where all of y'all are waiting for, I'm sure. How exactly do you start meditating? What's the first step? And how can you incorporate this into your routine? So Rohan, maybe let's share with our audience today. They're sold. They're like, okay, you know what? I'm going to give meditation a try. How should I start? Where do I begin?
All right, awesome. So the first process, like I said, is actually starting this instrument, this brain of yours, to get sort of in tune again with these energies, these frequencies that are naturally inside you. Obviously, everyone has them by birth. Anyone can meditate, regardless of race, religion, gender, It doesn't matter, right? We're all human beings, so we all feel this. And what's really important to understand is that what's going to happen next is I'm going to sort of walk you through the process of what self-realization actually is, sort of the initial step to self-awareness, right? You first have to kind of realize that this is inside you. And you're going to be saying a bunch of things, a bunch of affirmations. We're going to be placing our hands at certain points because our hands have nerve endings, right? At the end of our hands and also at the top of our head, there are a lot of nerve endings. And these nerve endings release some of these energies that are restorative and that are healing, right? And we can feel them, we can detect them when we are in tune. So again, you're going to be saying this, I'm going to be guiding you, but at the end of the day, it's all within, it's all happening inside you and it's in your heart. So you have to say it with sincerity. It's not something that I can force or anyone can force you to do or say. There's no amount of price or money you can pay for it to get it. It's totally coming from your own sincerity and heart. So what I'm going to kind of do now is just walk you through the process a little bit of what we're going to do first, right? And then we'll do it together in sort of a very in one go, right? And when we do that, we can maybe all close our eyes a little bit more, because obviously you'll watch me do it the first time through, and that will help you to sort of go a little bit deeper inside, right? Close your eyes, sort of cut off from the screen and whatever you're watching. So anyway, I'm gonna just quickly do a quick demonstration now with my hands. And obviously you can't see the sort of bottom half of my body, but that's okay. I'll just kind of just describe it to you. So the first thing we're gonna do is gonna take our right hand, right? because this is the hand of action. And we're going to put it on the sort of crease of our hip, right? So the bottom, like right on the left side, right? And this is going to be the first part. And as I said, body is made of energy, nerves bundles. There are certain plexuses. We call them energy centers. And these energy centers are responsible for various qualities and aspects of human beings. Again, you learn more about this in the class. We won't get into detail today, so don't worry about it. All you need to do is follow along with what I say, but from your heart, and put your hands in these centers, because that helps. Sometimes you can even kind of press and massage a little bit. This helps to sometimes release some of that tension that's built up in those centers. Okay, so first at the left hip, right, with the right hand. We're going to take our left hand and just put it out in the open, right? You'll see a lot of times in images and pictures of people meditating, their hands are wide open. And that's because it's a very natural thing to want to receive, you know, like I think a very common thing that, you know, people do when they want to receive something is they just put their hands out like this, right? Like a kid asking for something, just puts his hands out. So we're going to act a little bit like kids, right? I talked about being creative as sort of a thing that kids naturally have. We're going to be like kids. We're going to be very sort of humble and sweet inside in our hearts, and request for this energy within us to be awakened, for us to feel this energy. So we're going to start like this. So if you want, you can close your eyes, but if not, it's okay. You can say this energy, just like a restorative healing energy, we can refer to it as a mother, right? It's like our own inner personal mother. And we'll say something like this. We'll say, Mother, please give me pure knowledge. Please give me pure knowledge. We've accumulated lots of different kinds of knowledge over the years, all kinds of things, right? And some of it's good, some of it's bad, that's okay. The point is that now we want to know the truth. We want to really get deep within ourselves. And so the first thing to say is, Mother, please give me pure knowledge. Then we'll move up a little bit to our sort of left abdomen, upper abdomen, so on the stomach. And we'll say, Mother, am I my own master? So here we're sort of prompting the question. It's sort of a very sweet, innocent way of asking, Mother, am I my own master? So like we talked about earlier about the ego and superego, we cannot be dominating and we cannot be dominated, right? Neither of these are ways to balance. And so the first step to that is recognizing that you are your own master. You are in charge of your own life. You are responsible and you are capable of being in control of everything that you want to be in control of. So put your left hand over here on your left stomach and say, Mother, I am my master. Move up to the left heart. So right hand on the left heart. Again, the question, Mother, am I the spirit? Mother, am I the spirit? So as Raj mentioned so lovely in the beginning, we're not this mind, we're not this body, not the thoughts, not the emotions, none of that. Right? All of that is external stimuli that has affected us, that makes us think that this is what we are. But we're just a spirit. That's what connects us all as human beings, is that we are the spirit. Right? Mother, I am the spirit. Now we move the left hand up to the left side of the throat. You can turn your head to the right side a little bit. And here, the center is responsible for the way we communicate, the way we feel about that communication. Oftentimes this builds up in a negative way as guilt. If you've said anything to someone and you've hurt them, or you feel bad, or you're always feeling negatively about yourself, it's usually due to guilt. And we can't have that. We can't be balanced people and feel guilty all the time. So we say, Mother, I am not guilty. Mother, I am not guilty. Mother, I am not guilty. And finally, put our hand on our head, forehead. This center is the center of forgiveness. It's the brain. It's where we think, right? It's where we analyze. And this is that moment, that very sincere, deep moment where a lot of people struggle with, because it's not easy, but it's okay. You just have to dig deep in your heart and say, Mother, I forgive. And really, really, really mean it. Mother, I forgive everyone, and I forgive myself. Mother, I forgive everyone, and I forgive myself. Please forgive me. And with that, surrender completely and feel relaxed, let go. All right. So this is the process of self-realization. This is how we started off, right? And one of the things that's important to do is now we do it one more time, a little bit quickly, but we're going to slow it down with our breathing. So really important. One of the things we didn't do earlier on was breathe. So we're going to start it again now. Now really, without sort of worrying or listening or thinking too much about me, you don't have to look. Really close your eyes, right? Take a very, very deep breath, all right? Breathe in through our nose and exhale through the mouth. Keep that breathing. Now again, hand at the lower hip, the left side. Mother, please give me pure knowledge. Hand up to the stomach. Mother, I am my own master. Mother, I am my own master. Up to the left heart. Mother, I am the spirit. I am the pure spirit. Keep your breathing. Mother, I am not guilty. Left hand up on the throat. Mother, I am not guilty. Hand on the forehead. Mother, I forgive everyone. I forgive myself. Mother, I forgive everyone and I forgive myself. Please forgive me. And now we can take our hand, put it on top of our head. We're just going to press a little lightly. And we're going to sort of rotate in a clockwise direction on our scalp with the center of our palm. Mother, I surrender everything to you. This energy is within us. It looks after us, just like our mother. She handles everything. She completely manages all the concerns, all the doubts, all the fears, all the anger, all the jealousy, hatred, all of it. And immediately in that one stroke, let it go. Let it all go. And then we say, Mother, please give me my self-realization. Mother, please give me my self-realization. We can just lift our hands ever so slightly above our head. And try to feel if you feel something, if you feel some kind of coolness or heat or anything, right? And you may not feel anything, and that's okay. The point is not necessarily to always feel something, but even if you just felt a sense of calm, a sense of peace, a sense of relaxation, that's already a great start, right? But if you felt something, then there's your science. There's your science for you. It's something that really does exist. It's within you. And if you can feel it, then your instrument is in tune, right? And obviously, if you can't feel it, that's okay. Your instrument needs a little bit more tuning, just needs a bit more time. So don't feel bad, don't feel worried. It's nothing to worry about. Everyone has different experiences and different reasons for why they can or cannot feel. And so, yeah, so that's basically the first step of getting your self-realization. And now that you can feel this, which Raj is going to maybe talk a little bit more about meditation and how we can start that as well as a kind of daily part of our life. So, Raj, back to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rohan. So there you have it, guys. That is the basics, the starting point of Sajoga meditation is to get your self-realization, to sort of activate this energy within you. Now, how can we proceed from here? How can we start to reap the benefits of meditation on a daily basis, right? So this is what we usually recommend to people who are new to meditation. We're going to share a few tips and tricks on how you can incorporate meditation into your life right now. Now, the first thing, what we usually say is try to build a meditation routine, meaning try to find time in your day to start meditating. What most of us do is we do 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes at night before you sleep. Now, how do we start? It's very, very simple. All you have to do is find a quiet, comfortable place. It can be somewhere in your room, in your hall, wherever that you feel comfortable or quiet. If you have a garden outside, feel free to go and sit down there, right? You can sit on the chair or you can sit cross legged on the floor. That's the first thing. Find a comfortable place to sit in. Now, number two, close your eyes, put your hands on your lap, and keep it open. Okay. Now, step number three, people usually do it in different ways. What works for me personally, maybe Rohan, you can share how you start meditating, right? I focus on my breathing. So I bring all my attention to my breathing. So I'll bring my attention to my nose, bring the attention to the air entering into my nose, into my lungs, into my diaphragm, into my stomach. Hold it there for a couple of seconds and then exhale through my mouth. I do that for a few minutes. Just focus on your breathing. Inhale through your nose, feel everything into your lungs, into your diaphragm. Hold it there for a few seconds and then exhale. Just bring all your attention to your breathing. And now what usually happens is when you're sitting down still, your body and your mind is not used to sitting down still because you are so used to running around and worrying and thinking, and there's 1,001 things we do every day. So when your body decides to just sit still and meditate for a while, there's going to be some sort of friction, some sort of resistance. So when all these thoughts start coming in, what should you do? Right? What should you do? The answer is very simple. Do nothing. Let these thoughts come in, observe them, see them there, and just tell yourself, it's okay. These are thoughts. I surrender them. I let them be. I let them go. See, this is the most interesting and magical part about meditation. You just have to do absolutely nothing and just understand that everything that comes into your mind, these thoughts, these feelings, these emotions, they're all temporary, they're transient. And at the end of the day, you are just a pure spirit. You are this divine soul full of love, joy, and happiness. And meditation helps you to reach this state more often. All right, guys. So yeah, that's as simple as that. 10, 15 minutes in the morning and in the evening or at night. Find a nice, number one, find a nice, comfortable place to sit down and relax. Number two, close your eyes, open the palm of your hands. Number three, start paying attention to your breathing. Bring all your attention to your breathing. Inhale and exhale. And then whenever thoughts come in, just recognize them. Tell them, I know this is a thought. I let it go. I surrender it. Do that for a week. Do that for 2 weeks. Do that for a month. And just watch how you naturally become so much more resilient mentally. Your health will start to improve and you'll be able to go through any of life's hurdles so easily because you know that you are not this mind, you're not this body, you're not these thoughts, these emotions, your pain, your suffering. You are not all those. You're the pure spirit, you are joy, and you are happiness. So that is how you can start your meditation practice. Rohan, would you like to add anything else to how they can start their meditation practice?
Well, I think you nailed it. I mean, it's really, it's exactly what I do. I mean, it's just a very simple act of sitting down and letting go, right? Like we said right at the beginning. And the only thing I would add, obviously, for many of you who are watching, is some of you would be saying, yeah, okay, I'm doing this, I'm trying, I'm sitting down, but it's not easy to let go. Like you guys say, like it's so easy, but it's not that easy sometimes. You know, sometimes you're really angry or frustrated, or thoughts just don't seem to want to go away and they keep bugging you. And really, I have to say that's so normal. It's very common. It takes time. So be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself. A lot of people, get very frustrated with themselves in the beginning and they feel like something's wrong with them. And so don't feel any of that, right? it really, really takes time for everyone, even myself included. I remember for a very long period of time when I wasn't really meditating, when I kind of stopped it because I thought, okay, I just, I remember when I was young, because I wanted to really see if this was even real. I remember just sort of intentionally meditating some days, intentionally not meditating on other days, just to test to see if I would really feel a difference. And you can try that as well in the beginning. So besides starting off as a routine, maybe you also want to experiment and kind of try and see, well, does this really work for me? Is this real? And if it is, and if you do feel a little bit of peace in the beginning, I think it's quite addictive, and you will feel like you want to continue and extend that. I think many of the people that are here today and that are still practicing, and just so you know, Sajoga has practiced for free of charge around the world by hundreds of thousands of people. And it's something that, they all feel that same joy because of that peace that they managed to achieve. It started off with 1 second, 2 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and then eventually became hopefully like minutes, and maybe even for some of you, one day, hours. But for most people, a couple of minutes every day is really, really good. It's solid, I should say, treatment for your brain, actually, for your brain to rest. Like many of us are filled, our lives are so filled with distractions now through everything on social media or the news, or whatever it is in our life that we're bombarded with these days. And meditation is it's a relief. It's a release from all of that. It's just this 5 minutes a day when you can say, I'm just not going to think, I'm just not going to think. I'm not going to worry about stuff. I'm not going to care about all that other stuff that seems to be so important throughout my day. I'm going to be free of it just for 5 minutes. Just think about it like that. Your brain is working so hard every day to, do everything you want it to do, right? And you can just give it this 5 minutes, like, hey, take a break, right? Hey, take a real break. Of course, sleep is there, but clearly, if you're still feeling stressed, clearly if you're sick, clearly if you aren't feeling sort of satisfactions in your heart from your life, then clearly there's not enough rest in your head. There's not enough peace in your head. And so meditation is that way to get that extra bit of peace that you're not getting in your current life. So that's really important to understand, I think, when you start off meditating, because I know that initial journey can be frustrating. And it does take time to let go. And obviously, towards the end, we're going to talk about classes. Again, classes are totally free. It's always free. Okay, Sajoga is just always free. Like, that's it. Like, there's no ever going to be like charge for it ever. And I think it's really important to understand this, because you can't pay for something that is just naturally within you. Just like you can't pay someone to teach you how to sleep or eat. Like, it's really weird. So very important to understand that. So if anyone ever tries to charge you for something, like to teach you something, like just don't fall for that kind of stuff, right? So very important. Experiment, do it from within, do it for free, understand yourself. And like Raj said, meditation starts with the very simple act of sitting down, taking a few deep breaths, letting go, and extending that time in which you can let go for as long as you possibly can. And eventually, and of course, you're going to come through, you're going to face different obstacles along the way. That's okay. That's what the classes are for, to help you, to put you in a community of people that meditate regularly, that can give you advice and tips. And obviously, there are a bunch of other things around meditation, different techniques. Like you can see this man in this picture on this slide that's being shared, sitting with his feet in a bucket. That's a perfect example of a technique that we do in Sahaja Yoga called foot soaking, that helps to absorb some of the negative energies that are within us. So that's what I would definitely say is to, if you're facing any difficulties, definitely think about joining a class to boost your learning, and also the amount of, the length that you can experience meditation.
Awesome. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I think we are nearing the end of our live stream for today. Now, please don't go. We are going to give you guys a few resources to help you guys start your meditation journey. So the admin, can you please go back to the previous slide? Because we have another session at 6 o'clock, 6 to 7 p.m. We will be having a detox session, all right? For those of y'all that want to learn some advanced techniques when it comes to meditation, or to just get a feel of some of the techniques that we use to further detox ourselves, detox for a healthy lifestyle, happening from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. today. So feel free to tune in. You guys can join the live stream right before dinner. If you're having an early dinner, you can eat and watch it at the same time. Also, no problem at all, right? And like Rohan said, Sahaja Yoga classes, meditation classes are 100% free of charge for life, because we believe there should not be a price tag for your happiness, right? So if you want to learn more about meditation, where can you go? Let's jump to the next slide. We're going to give you guys a few resources that y'all can refer to. So on Facebook, Meditate Malaysia Community. If you have any questions, I'm sure you guys must have a ton of questions right now. Just drop a DM, like that page, and we will have a whole bunch of people ready and waiting to answer your questions. All right. On Instagram, Sahaja Yoga MY, and on YouTube, Meditate Malaysia as well. Go check out our website, www.sahajayogamalasia.com. All right, awesome. You also have the phone numbers here as well. So, guys, we're giving you so many avenues for you all to reach out to any of us if you want a bit of guidance in starting your meditation journey. So, please don't be shy, all right? And send us a message whenever you can. Anything else, admin, that we want to share with the live stream? All right, so the upcoming programs, like I mentioned before, we have been doing it yesterday and today, 6 p.m. Detox for Healthy Lifestyle. If you guys are free, feel free to join us then. But with that being said, I think we have reached the end of our live stream for today. And before we go, once again, we want to thank all of you all for joining Rohan and myself and the whole Sahaja Yoga community. We hope that you guys have a better idea of what meditation is. I hope you all are a bit more aware about the benefits of meditation as well. And feel free to experiment and try it in the comforts of your home. Once again, Meditate Malaysia on Facebook. You can ask us any questions there. Now, before we go, Rohan, one last thing that you want to share with our amazing audience before you go. Is there anything you would like to tell them?
I just like to say, really, thank you guys, and to all the dads watching. I'm a dad too, so happy Father's Day. Thanks for tuning in. Obviously, this is also meditation is part of being a better dad. Like, it definitely helps you with parenting and with a lot of aspects of your life, every aspect of your life, to be honest. So I just like to say happy Father's Day to everyone, dads watching. And also, if there are any questions right now, I'm not sure if we've collected any, feel free to ask them. We can answer them now. Or if not, then we're going to probably end the session. And happy meditating, guys. Hope you have a really nice journey. And hopefully it's with us and you feel a lot better from meditating.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, Rohan and Raj, for fantastic sessions. Since we are live on Facebook and also YouTube, we have a question from Facebook.
Awesome.
The question goes like this. Do I do breathing exercise first and meditate? Or do I meditate and also do the breathing exercise?
Nice, really cool question. I think you want to take this shot? I'll take it. Okay, I'll do this.
You can take it, Rohan. Yeah.
Right. So breathing is just a kind of, well, it's a natural mechanism, right, that we all do by default. It's very autonomous. And but one of the things that happens is because we're, again, our mind, our brain, everything is working so fast, doing so many things, and we often sometimes forget to breathe deeply. And so what that can result in is sort of an accumulation of carbon dioxide that doesn't allow, our metabolism is affected, the way we think, the way we generate energy, everything is blocked when not enough fresh air is being taken. That's why it's so refreshing when you go outside for a walk, so air has a big impact on your mind. The amount of oxygen in your brain has a big impact. So the breathing is just something that you can do whenever you feel like thoughts are just bombarding you, right? Because what breathing does is that it gives you that space. If you notice, actually, if you try to breathe really deeply, you take a couple of deep breaths, you'll notice that in that space, especially when you hold your breath, if you breathe deeply and you go like, and you hold, you'll notice that it's really hard to think in this hold, right? In that space when you're holding your breath, it's very, very hard to think. And that's because your brain is sort of going, oxygen. And then it's sort of getting back to it, and then you're sort of letting go. So that's one of the things that breathing can help you with. So one of the reasons why we say to start with the breathing is because it's sort of a good way to build in that rhythm, get that boost of oxygen that your brain can sort of say, okay, relax. It's one of the reasons why people say if you want to meditate, go outside in nature and meditate, although it's not necessary, but it does help. Being, of course, in contact with more of the natural elements, right? The earth, the sea, fresh air, all these things obviously have a little bit of an impact, but they're not necessary to be in meditation. So just a reminder, you don't have to do the breathing exercises every time you start meditation, but they are recommended because it's usually quite effective in setting your sort of mind in the right state. So yeah, that's kind of what I have to say about it.
All right. Thank you very much, Rohan, for the answer. And there's another question. When I close my eyes and meditate, do I need to focus on anything? Or if I don't focus on anything, I think in one of the sessions you shared that don't have any thoughts. But it's very difficult. I have tried, but there seem to be a lot of thoughts that's coming in. So how do we overcome this?
Right. Yeah. Okay. Raj, you want to take this one?
No, Rohan, you can take it.
Okay, sure. So when it comes to focus, right, I know this is one of the things I remember, especially in uni. A lot of my friends were kind of interested in meditation, and they would always ask me, like, how do I feel like this question is from a uni student? Well, I'm not sure, but I think it is, right? Like a lot of times we think, because, you know, in uni, you're supposed to focus, drill down, study hard, work hard, hustle, right? That whole life is really sort of happening in uni times. Focus, focus is really interesting. A lot of people think focus means like cramming. It's sort of this concentration, right? Concentration on one thing is what people, I think, generally associate with focus. But a lot of times, and I think especially in today's world, in the world we live in, focus is not necessarily about concentrating. It's actually about clarity. It's actually about opening up. It's seeing the bigger picture. It's actually having, reference to the context that you're in, the surrounding that you're in. You have to sort of step out, sort of be detached and witness. Actually, what I would call meditation is being this state of witness. Thoughtless awareness is this state of witness where you are kind of away from everything that you're kind of usually binded by. And that actually gives you clarity. And sometimes, focus and clarity, they can be used a little bit interchangeably. But for me, that's what you should try to aim for. Aim for gaining clarity, which means you can understand sort of the larger context. I know that may not necessarily be very helpful, like practically, like exactly what to do. So I'm going to give you a little bit more advice on that. But just so you understand, like when you say the word focus, I would redirect that to say things like, try to feel clarity, not focus. But in terms of gaining that clarity, what you can start doing is, I think Raj mentioned this, or maybe I did, I can't remember. Forgive the thought. It's the hardest thing. I mentioned it when we were doing the self-realization process. Forgiveness is one of those things that it's sometimes easy to forget, but it's not always easy to forgive. And forgiveness is really that's why it's one of the last sentences at the head. It's very, it's where we store all that mental stuff that's just not really good for us. It is the hardest thing to do. And it will, again, take time. It's not something that happens and it will come back. It doesn't mean that when you forgive something that happened to you, that you suddenly can, that it will never happen again. It's a daily thing. That's why meditation has to be practiced daily. It's kind of like taking a shower. You have to shower every day, right? So it's the same thing. You have to meditate every day. You have to cleanse yourself. You have to keep cleansing till you get to a point where you don't feel so dirty, and then you can kind of feel a little bit more a better sense of what being clean actually means. If you spend so much time in the mud, no matter how many showers you take, you're not gonna feel very, very clean. But if you stay clean for longer periods of time, you get a better idea of what really cleanliness is and hygiene and that kind of thing. So similarly in meditation, it's the same thing, right? To gain that ability to not focus but get clarity takes time, takes forgiveness, it takes letting go, and this is something that really only through experience you can develop a skill. It's like developing a skill. It's not something that you can sort of solve in one go. So yeah, that's kind of my answer for that question. Hopefully that answers your question a little bit.
I'm going to compliment your answer, Rohan, and maybe share a bit of my experience as well of facing this issue of thoughts just bombarding you, right? So the true reality is, for me, my experience, even after meditating for so many years, there are some days where I sit down and I'm just overwhelmed with thoughts. Yeah, like, I think the first thing to understand that this idea of thoughts entering into your mind at like super fast speeds is normal. That is 100% normal. Please don't feel overwhelmed that is happening to you. That's number one. And my personal way of trying to calm those thoughts down and to enter into a state of self-awareness. So I think Rohan has used this term a lot, and you will see it a lot. Is this term of self-awareness or detachment or witness state. That is the state that we are trying to achieve in meditation. That's the place we want to be. And how I do that personally is, of course, I start with deep breathing first. Like Rohan mentioned, deep breathing is like a catalyst to enter into a more balanced state, because it helps you calm down, it helps you relax, gives oxygen to your brain. And once I do deep breathing for a while, I become more calm, more relaxed. The thoughts are still there. And in order to help me enter this state of being detached, what I do is I focus on a point on the top of my head right here. People believe that this is a chakra, this is a point of energy. So I put all my attention on this spot here and try to observe my thoughts. I spend my energy, I bring my attention to my thoughts, I observe them, but I do not become involved in them. I see them coming in, I see them going out, and I just let them be. So yeah, that is basically how I try to mitigate the issue of being bombarded by thoughts, by just starting off with deep breathing, accepting the fact that the thoughts are there. I don't try to suppress them. I don't try to push them or force them away, but I try to let them be. And over time, you will see that, maybe I don't know whether this is the right way to say it, but maybe the state of focus is not what we're really looking for, but just the state of being, and the state of being able to witness whatever that is going on in your mind without being affected by it. That is the true power of meditation, to see things and experience things, but to not let it impact you very, very in a very high degree. Yeah, that's what I think, and I hope Rohan and my answers would have helped shed some light to your question.
Okay, we have one more question from the Zoom audience. The question goes like this. Does it mean forgiving and also forgetting what someone did to you? Very good question.
Well, it's a very good question. Very, very well worded. I like it. It's one of those things. It's so hard to really quantify exactly what that means, forgiveness and forgetting something, right? Or when something has been done to you, or even when sometimes you do things to yourself. Sometimes one of the hardest things, actually probably the hardest thing to forgive is yourself, right? When you make really bad mistakes, so when you do something, a lot of people feel bad for that. So it always depends, right? It always depends on how you process these things. I think for a lot of people, they can maybe forget after some amount of time. Usually time is a very good healer of things, right? Eventually you just forget because, okay, it was a long time ago, whatever, right? But obviously that is a little bit different from forgiveness. Forgiveness is almost like this sense of, for me at least, that is how I understand it, it's a sense of empathy. It's a sense of, you know what, I understand why that happened. I get it. I get that, okay, whatever you did to me or whatever I did was wrong and it's not good and it's not right. But that's okay. It's one of those things that everyone makes mistakes. Everyone messes up. We're all human. No one is perfect. So, why let someone else, or even myself, if it's about myself, why let something in the past, something I obviously cannot change, I can learn from it, I can improve from it, but I can't do anything about it. That anger or that hatred or whatever you may feel as a result from not forgiving others or yourself is of no benefit to anyone. So I think ultimately, when you ask about is forgiveness, forgetting, forgiveness, like they are related, they're correlated, they're not the same. Forgetting is quite easy, I think, over time. Naturally, the brain just forgets things. Forgiveness is a little bit harder because it's sort of right in the moment, but it is so critical and so key to kind of breaking through and achieving that state. Actually, when Raj talks about this energy that's sort of above our head, it's really, really sort of a key component is letting go, because otherwise, like, people dominate you. Not forgiving, actually being unforgiving, is allowing someone else to dominate you, to sort of say, hey, I did this to you and I have control over how you feel. And that's not a nice thing to feel, right? No one wants to feel dominated. No one wants to feel like someone else could do this to me, and so I should feel bad and angry and I want to do something bad. Like, that doesn't do anything for anyone. So forgiveness is that beautiful place where you say, no matter what you did, you can't touch me because I'm my own master. Like we said, I'm the spirit. And so, yeah, do whatever you want to do. I'm going to let it go because I'm bigger and I'm better than that. So that's, I think, what you can think of forgiveness as. It's a way of saying, I let go and I'm beyond. I'm going to be the bigger person when it comes to whatever that happened in that situation.
Yeah, to add on to Rohan's answer, I think I read this somewhere before, but they said to hold anger and resentment towards other people's mistakes to you is to punish yourself for other people's foolishness. That was something I read before, which really stuck with me. And I guess another thing to realize is, guys, I mean, I'm sure most of us would not like to hear this, but at the end of the day, we have to admit that as human beings, we are not perfect. We all make mistakes, we all go through challenges, we all go through struggles, and sometimes these things manifest in different ways. Some of us might cry, some of us might feel sad, some of us might let it out on other people. So people manifest their sadness or their hurt or their grief in many different ways, and unfortunately sometimes hurting other people is the byproduct of that. So when we start to understand this and we start to have more empathy and understand that sometimes life can be difficult, life can be a struggle, we are able to develop that forgiveness and not only stop hurting ourselves, but maybe be in a better position to help other people and to understand other people as well. So to bring you back to the question of whether to forgive or forget, I think, of course, it depends on the extent of the situation. And even for us, I think people who have been meditating for years, it's not like we have become like super detached or some next level human being where if anybody say anything to me, no problem, just brush it off. Like that doesn't happen, right, guys? That's not normal. We still
feel
go
anger.
through the pain. We feel anger. Surprise, we feel anger, right? but it's normal. But I think over time, personally, for me, I've come to a understanding that we all have our challenges and struggles, and sometimes we manifest it in different ways. We don't mean to, and that allows me to forgive. And like Rohan said, over time we forget. Of course, we learn, we try to identify which situations might have a similar result, and we have to make the right decision then. But the forgiving part, when you start to understand, you will start to develop empathy, and then it becomes much easier to forgive.
Very good answers, guys. Okay, we have one more question. Probably this will be the last questions we're going to take for today from Facebook as well. Mm-hmm. How am I to be in a meditative calm state while going on with all my daily chores? One more time, huh? How am I to be in a meditative calm state while going on with all my daily chores?
Oof, this guy is going for the goal, the ultimate. That's awesome. Yeah, I love it. It's a great question. It's one of the things I think every person who meditates is trying to achieve. We want that because it's such a beautiful state to be so, I should say, detached but caring. It's not like I'm detached and I don't care, but it's like I don't let these things affect me. I can think beyond them. I can work beyond them. I can operate beyond all the things that people are piling onto me. It is really, really hard. It's a really hard state to get to because it's, involves being, I should say, going very, very deep in meditation frequently. And as that happens, I think naturally the state sort of lingers on in your being as you, move out of the physical act of sitting down. So one of the things I think you will experience as you meditate more and more is it's quite, I should say, intoxicating, the feeling of meditation, because it's quite, it's just beautiful. It's just such a joyful thing, It's just like when a kid is painting and drawing and enjoying himself. It's pure joy. There's no thought process. There's no like, oh, what will someone say? Oh, so no one's thinking that. It's just that raw feeling of love. I should say it's love. And when you feel that more and more in your meditation, obviously, so extending it day by day, little by little, that extension will mirror itself in your life. So that will carry you with that same feeling of love in your work, in your relationships, and all the things that we talked about earlier. And that's basically how it works, right? You start by extending it in your meditation. That mirrors itself in all other aspects of your life. And so hopefully eventually, you get to that state where, technically you are always in meditation. You're always in that state of thoughtless awareness, where you're not really thinking about things. You are just sort of acting with pure intention and maybe expression is the right word. Just expressing yourself freely without being conditioned by whatever it is that you normally get conditioned by. It's not easy. It's really hard. I don't think there are even many people that I know that meditate that are in this state, that are truly in meditation all the time. Because let's face it, it's not very normal in life. Life will always bring us challenges, new challenges. Even for a period of time, if you feel like, oh, everything is good and I can be really meditative throughout the day, life will throw you a new curveball that will ultimately make it more difficult to be in that state, right? So, but that's part of the fun. I think that's part of the fun of meditating. Actually, is you learn to push yourself and improve and go beyond all the challenges that eventually hit you, and there will always be challenges. So don't. Obviously, it's nice to think about that goal of eventually being completely in a meditative state all the time. But don't be disheartened if you don't get there, because again, I wouldn't say that that's the most important thing. Like I know this is gonna sound really cringy, but it's not the goal, it's the journey, something like that. There's some quote probably that has been said about that. So it is really like that, right? Life is very much about the journey and the little joys that we have along the way, rather than the sort of the end destination, which isn't. I mean, we all don't really know what that's gonna end up like.
Yeah, I'll give an analogy to support Rohan's amazing answer. So imagine you want to become a bodybuilder, right? You have no exercise background whatsoever. You've never stepped into a gym for your life, but you tell yourself, okay, I want to become a bodybuilder. So you go to the gym. Day 1, you start lifting weights. Day 2, day 3, month 1, month 2, month 3, you see yourself becoming stronger, becoming more healthier, right? And when you stop exercising, for example, you spend 1 hour in the gym every day. When you stop exercising, your body does not shrink. It does not mean automatically you become unhealthy once you leave the gym, right? It becomes part of you. Health becomes part of you. So the same thing happens with meditation. The more you practice it, the longer you practice it, it becomes a natural state to be in. You do not have to constantly do it 24/7. It just becomes part and parcel of who you are. So like Rohan says, it mirrors itself into your daily life. So it's the exact same concept. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, one last one. Okay, it seems to be getting a lot of attraction and traction here from Facebook. Okay, one question from Po Yi, that's from My Watch Party. She's asking a very simple question actually. Is sleeping one way of meditating or meditation?
Very, very good question. Very, I think, sciencey. Yeah, it's one of those things where you can read a lot of research about it. Actually, I think even many people who meditate regularly don't necessarily know the true answer to this, because and if you because there's very limited actually understanding of the brain. If you have any idea about neuroscience or that kind of thing, you'll know that there are many limitations in what we can actually understand about the brain, what the brain does when we are in these various states, right? And so this is the part that Raj was talking about, where the meta science sort of comes in, where is sleep meditation, is meditation sleep? What about dreaming? What about all those things, right? All these states, what do they actually mean? Are they the same? For us, at least as we've learned and have been taught through Sahaja Yoga, not exactly. No, they're not the same thing. Sleep is associated with releasing different kinds of waves, different kinds of energies that are responsible for a restorative or healing act in your brain, right? The act of healing or restoring your brain. Meditation is kind of, I would say, an amplified version of that. It's an amplified version of that because, when you're not aware, when you're not really aware, when you're asleep, the effect of it is, I should say, you feel it. Obviously, when people wake up from sleep, they feel like, they feel very good. But you don't experience it in the moment. It's sort of like a stored value, right? You're sort of it's sort of recharging versus being like charged. I think meditation is, you can think of it as, you are operating at full capacity. You have the charge. It's alive. You're experiencing that thoughtless state, and you are aware of it. And it's different, right? It's different than when you're, if you think about it like a phone, right? How powerful is your phone when its screen is locked and you're charging the battery, right? Versus when it's charging, but the phone is on and you can use it, right? The phone becomes much more useful when it's alive, when it's awake. And so the same principle kind of, I think, is what happens within us. When we are awake and we're aware of this, the effects of it are amplified because our brain comprehends. When we sleep, we don't understand what's really going on. We don't understand what's happening within us. We don't necessarily, again, this metacognition, we don't understand what is going on because it's just happening in the background process. But when you're meditating, you can understand, because you will feel it on your hands, you will feel it on your head, you will feel it inside you, this sense of calm. And that feeling, that cognition of the self-healing is sort of more powerful and more, I should say, you just feel more connected. So yeah, that's my kind of take on how it is. But I think many people will have very different answers about this, about what exactly is felt. In my experience, meditation is a much more amplified and powerful restorative feeling than sleeping.
Yep. What Rohan said is exactly true. When we meditate, our brain enters into a state of where it generates something called a theta wave. So that wave allows healing to happen. It allows the natural recovery and wellness of your body to take place, to happen. Whereas when you sleep, is usually in beta wave, and not much healing or recovery happens in that state. So meditation puts you in a state of heightened recovery and wellness. But one thing's for sure is sometimes when you're meditating, you can fall asleep. So if that happens, don't get worried. All right, that's 100% normal. We hope that answers your question.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for answering all the questions. And I guess that's all for now. So hand it back to the speakers to just wrap it up. Thank you.
Thanks, awesome. Thanks so much for your questions.
Also, once again, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Raj. We had Rohan as well on the stream today. We really hope that you guys have learned something and would consider starting this journey of meditation to a happier, healthier life for you. Once again, any questions, Facebook, Meditate Malaysia, like the page, just drop us a message, and we have an amazing community waiting to help you guys out. All right. Have a good weekend, have a good week ahead, and we will see you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.